Hansa Park is becoming one of the best theme parks in Europe, and this year saw the addition of Highlander, an absolutely massive gyro drop tower. The park is on the northeast coast of Germany and is home to 7 roller coasters, including 2 of the best in Europe, Flucht von Novgorod and Der Karnan.
So today I'm at Hansa Park in Germany, riding the legendary Karnan.
Karnan, or Der Karnan, to give it its full name, is a really unique coaster. It opened in 2015 and has several features that make it rather special. In discussing them, I will be revealing some spoilers, so if you want to go in blind and experience the surprises for yourself, I suggest skipping to the time shown in the corner. The ride has an extensive story behind it, drawing on legends from the Hansa region, involving an unconquerable castle built in Sweden and a magic spell protecting it. The story plays out on TV screens in parts of the queue, which in itself is incredibly detailed as you make your way through secret passageways in the castle, eventually reaching a room which will determine your fate. Now you can't actually pick which row of Karnan to ride on, as this is determined by this special room. Once people are inside in groups of 4, a light show plays out, selecting where each group should go at random. Will you be lucky enough to get the front row, or will you get to experience the drop of over 200 feet in the back? It's an interesting twist to usual queue line batching, but it can be a little annoying if you want to ride in a specific row. Fortunately, when I visited, the queues were very short, so I was more than happy to go around again if I wanted a front seat ride. After going through the selection process, you take your seat and the ride begins with a turn into darkness, and in the dim light, you make out a huge vertical lift hill towering above you. As you ascend the lift and approach the top, the ride unexpectedly stops, and a ghostly projection appears in front of you at the top of the tower. Suddenly, you plunge backwards down the vertical lift, stopping just before you reach the bottom, before once again climbing the lift, but this time going over the top and into a 220-foot drop, accelerating you to nearly 80 miles an hour.
The rest of the ride itself is quite an interesting layout. It starts with this first element, which I'd say is almost a bit like a non-inverting butterfly. You don't go upside down, it sort of looks like you should, but you don't. Then after that it gets close to the ground, you get a real good sense of speed to it. There's a couple of little airtime humps to it, some tight G-force turns, and then it's got one final hidden surprise. You hit the final brakes, or at least you think they're the final brakes, and then there's an extra inversion to take you through.
After the drop, the pacing of the ride is awesome. It stays close to the ground, which gives a great sense of speed, and the elements give some really strong forces. Towards the end of the ride, it does slow down a bit. Overall, it's a fantastic layout and unlike any other hypercoaster out there. The ride has also had a couple of upgrades since it first opened.
It's been interesting to see it change over the last couple of years. When I first went, it was only partly painted, the outside wasn't fully detailed, and even some of the interior details weren't finished yet either. Since then, it's developed a whole outside queue area that looks fantastic. It's developed a bit of a pre-show with some projection mapping lighting going on inside, and there's even a new bit with the drop, the hidden drop on the inside. When I first rode it, the first drop was just completely in the darkness. You go up the vertical lift hill and then you pause there while it changes over track systems, and then you drop backwards straight down. But now they've got added an extra bit where there's a projection screen up at the top of the lift hill, so it adds a little bit more story to the ride.
2 years after opening, they even managed to make the indoor reverse drop longer, more than doubling its speed. The reverse drop is completely unique to this ride, with no other coaster in the world having it as a feature. The suspense building up before the drop, even when you're expecting it, has been known to move even hardened roller coaster enthusiasts to tears, and must be terrifying if it takes you by surprise and you think that the ride has broken.
The ride is just overall incredibly themed. It's got to be one of the best themed roller coasters out there. It's just, there's so much detail that's gone into it and so much work and effort, it's just phenomenal.
Also in the Karnan area of the park are a few interesting flat rides, including Karnan Pulten, a Gerstlauer skyfly ride where you control the spinning by tilting wings on either side of your seat. There's a bit of a technique to it to get it to invert, and there's often a bit of competition to see who can get the most inversions. It's a pretty fun ride. Today, there's also a rather unique frisbee-type ride called the Bell, which is good fun but is really low capacity compared to similar rides, with each cycle only carrying 6 people. This is its last year of operation, as it's to be removed to make way for a brand new themed area called a Wildersworld, set to open next year. Nearby is the wonderfully themed family coaster, Schlange von Midgard, which is a Viking theme and is beautifully detailed. It looks great as it flies over the water, and may be a good place to start if you're not brave enough for Karnan. They could maybe have synchronised the serpent's head a little bit better though, as it seems to move only after the coaster goes by.
The newest attraction they have here is Highlander, which you can probably see behind me. It's an absolutely huge drop tower. It's the tallest freestanding drop tower in the world.
It stands 120 metres tall, nearly 400 feet, and the drop reaches speeds of 75 miles an hour. But that's not all this drop tower does. The seats actually tilt forwards 30 degrees, forcing you to look down at that huge drop. The view from the top of the tower is just stunning, and you have plenty of time to enjoy it, as it seems to hold you at the top for an eternity before you drop. The suspense you feel is just incredible.
So the drop tower behind me actually operates on two different modes. In the morning it takes you up and tilts you slightly forward at the top, then tilts you back before the drop. And in the afternoon it takes you up, tilts you, and then drops you while you're still tilted facing the ground. It's quite an impressive ride.
The drop tower actually is situated inside one of the park's other roller coasters, Nessie, and its construction brought with it new theming to the area.
One thing I think is particularly nice is that they've actually put quite a bit of work into repainting and theming the Schwarzkopf coaster called Nessie. They've created a sort of Scotland-themed area, well, Britain-themed area, but it's Scotland, around the new attraction of Highlander, the giant drop tower. And as part of it, they've gone and repainted and given a whole new station to the Schwarzkopf coaster Nessie.
The ride is the oldest roller coaster in the park, opening in 1980, and is a unique Schwarzkopf model with a single loop. Whilst the coaster was originally painted white and green, the new grey track fits much better with the surrounding rockwork. It intertwines with one of the park's family coasters, Rasender Rolland, which actually travels through the inside of Nessie's loop, and on rare occasions it can synchronise, so Nessie loops over the Rasender Rolland train. Like most Schwarzkopfs, the loop has plenty of positive Gs, and certain points of the track give some strong airtime. It's a real classic coaster, and I think it's great that the park's taken good care of it and updated it with the modern theming.
So my advice is if you ride Nessie, ride it in the back, because you get some really surprising extra airtime off the second drop. It's quite impressive. The only sad thing is you no longer get eaten by the Loch Ness Monster at the end of the ride like you did with the previous theming, but I think it's overall an improvement. The other major coaster at the park is Flucht von Novgorod, which is a Gerst launched coaster, and one of the strongest and most intense launches in the world. I think the launch acceleration is second only to Dorodonpa in Japan, which is pretty insane. The launch has quite a kick to it because you go down a little dip and then the LSMs kick in and you just go flying forward outside. It's pretty cool. It's got quite a good story to it as well, the ride. It goes through a few different dark ride scenes before you actually get on the ride proper. And then halfway through it stops again for a dark ride section before a vertical lift hill, and probably vertical will be on vertical drop. It's got quite good pacing, and like I say, that launch just kicks ass.
The ride starts with a well-themed queue line and has quite a bit of a spooky atmosphere, with some of the scarecrows moving just enough to unnerve you when you catch it in the corner of your eye. The highlight of the coaster is definitely that launch though. It accelerates you to 62 miles an hour in just 1.4 seconds, faster than the quickest Formula 1 car, and after that it's straight into a big airtime hill. The rest of the ride is a few turns and a single inversion before you come to a stop before a vertical lift hill. There's a short dark ride section on the lift hill involving some projections and some arrows getting fired at you, and after that you hit a 97-degree beyond vertical drop completely in the dark. You then travel at speed through an overbank before hitting the final brakes, but the ride doesn't end there. After you get off the coaster and collect your things, you can either take some stairs or a slide down the exit queue, at which point you're confronted by two different routes. They lead into a maze and it's not obvious where you're meant to go. I think they can actually open different doors, which can change where the exit is. It's a nice touch and a real surprise the first time I rode it.
Novgorod definitely has a bit of a kick to it. That launch is pretty intense. It's awesome. The rest of the layout has some quite fun airtime in it as well, and it's just the dark ride section all adds up to a fantastic coaster. I'd still say though that Karnan is hands down the best coaster they've got here though. It's phenomenal.
Coasters aren't the only thing the park has to offer though. There's also several water rides which are great on hot days. There's a Wild West theme area too, which is a ropes course and several other attractions and restaurants. There's also an observation tower, which really shows just how tall Highlander is, and it also gives some great views of the surrounding area and the park's coasters. The whole park is beautiful, with some great landscaping, and the theming's just top notch. The main entrance has all these different buildings, which are modelled off of various landmarks from the Hanseatic League region, and every one of them looks fantastic.
It's been a great day here at Hansa Park. Karnan's been great, Novgorod's been great, and the new drop tower is damn impressive. The theming here, it really is something that makes it outstanding though. Turns it from an average park to an amazing one.
I really enjoyed my time at Hansa Park, and I'm keen to see what they add in the future, as it's already home to several world-class coasters. For more episodes from other parks, be sure to subscribe. Thanks so much for watching this video, and I'll see you again in another one very soon.